Leadership is hard. Titles change overnight, expectations pile up fast, and nobody hands you a survival map. That's why Leadership on the Rocks exists. Hi, I'm Bethany Rees, leadership coach, author, and speaker. And for 2 decades, I've been equipping leaders to navigate the wild, unpredictable terrain of leading people. Whether you're a new leader trying to find your footing or a seasoned leader trying to reclaim clarity, this podcast gives you the tools, truth, and encouragement you need to thrive in both your professional and personal lives. Each week, I sit down with leaders who have weathered storms, climbed mountains, and learned what it takes to lead without losing yourself in the process. If you're ready to build steady, grounded, life-giving leadership, this is your place. Let's climb together.
Leaders are created through experience. And I think if I hadn't had all those experiences, I wouldn't know how to think outside the box. You don't just need book smart to be a leader. You need to be street smart. You need to be people smart. You need to be data smart. You need to encompass and embody all of those things.
This is the Leadership on the Rocks podcast, where we equip and empower leaders like you to thrive in and create harmony between your professional and personal lives. I'm your host, Bethany Rees, and in today's episode, we're going to be talking with energy leader and advocate Hema Gupta about how to lead with clarity, courage, and purpose in complex environments while elevating others along the way. As Senior Director of Supply Chain Commercial Strategy at Onks Renewable Partners, Hema leads supplier negotiations and sourcing strategies that bring solar and battery storage projects to life across the country. She works at the intersection of clean energy, policy, and people, navigating a constantly shifting regulatory and market landscape to deliver solutions that are cost-effective, resilient, and aligned with environmental, social, and governance goals. With prior ties to clean power generation at Entergy and EV innovation at Keystring Labs, she's gained deep experience throughout the clean energy industry, from utilities to startups to international supply chains. From these experiences, she has built a career focused on turning complexity and uncertainty into clarity and momentum. Originally from India, Hema brings a global perspective and a people-first mindset to every partnership, rooted in trust, transparency, and shared purpose. She leads with clarity, empathy, and conviction, believing that meaningful progress in the energy transition happens when strategy, policy, and people move forward together. Welcome to the Leadership on the Rocks podcast, Hema. I'm so excited to have you.
Bethany, thank you so much for having me on your Leadership on the Rocks. I have been waiting for this. It's exciting. I think your platform has your heart in it, and it has the heart for leadership, and your ability to create real, honest conversations has made this such a meaningful experience for me. And I'm so grateful that you have shared this space with me.
Well, thank you so much for your kind words. And I want to let the audience know. So you and I kind of run in similar circles, and I'm just gonna call a spade. We're friends in real life, in IRL, right? And the reason I wanted to have you on the podcast, I have seen you work a room, and I don't mean work it for politics, work it for networking. I have seen you at work events, at social events, and you are so amazing at doing what you just did, and it's lifting other people up. Like, girl, I mean, we're on here for 30 seconds, and I already feel so much better about myself. Like, that is just so natural for you to go and to build other people up. And that's why I wanted to have you on the podcast to talk about how you're so good at that and how can we get better. I think as leaders, that's part of our job. So talk to us, give us a little bit of background about how you stepped into leadership. And then I want you to give us the goods of how we actually build each other up.
Yeah, and let me echo your sentiments, Bethany. When I first met you, I felt like it's someone I knew for a very long time. I felt very connected. I think you're a great listener, and I think you provide feedback. And for those of you that don't know, sometimes on my down days, I think Bethany might be a psychic or something, because she sends me a random text on like a random Tuesday. And it's like, hey, Hema, I wanted to uplift you today. And I swear it's at every single time I am not feeling well, or I'm having a day where I don't feel good about myself, or just something may have happened the night before. And Bethany always hits the mark when it comes to texting me. So I want to say, and calling me, thank you so much, for your intuition as a friend. And again, I'm just so grateful to have you in my life. Well, speaking on stepping into a leadership role, I obviously wasn't born into it, although it felt like it at times. I've always had to take the lead. Even as a kid growing up in India, back then, you kind of had to monitor yourself because your parents are so busy building this life for you. And, you're outside all the time with a bunch of different kids, lots of stories, and you kind of start to listen and pick up, on certain things that are happening in people's households and homes. And, you learn from those stories and you go home and you can relate to those stories. And I think growing up in another country, it's a lot more challenging because not everybody talks about everything. Lucky for me, I have siblings. We were always able to share the same space and talk. But I think you're always fighting for a spot also when there's so many people in the household. So I think because of that, I have always had to learn how to speak up for myself. Then I transitioned to coming to America. Big culture shock.
I can only imagine.
Yeah, and I think even coming from India didn't prepare me to be in such a diverse space because in India I was just around my own people and there was a familiarity there. And then I had to kind of step into this new culture that I knew nothing about. I don't look like the people here or any of the people here because there was just such a diverse group of people here. I was like, oh, well, where do I fit in? Um, I think the kids were not as kind as I thought they were going to be. At least that was my experience. My sister had a whole nother experience. She was Miss Popular. Everyone loved her from the second she came here. I think I had to really fight for my space and fight for who I wanted to be and speak up for myself. And I'm thankful for that because I had parents who always encouraged me to speak up for myself. And I found my group of friends and I didn't know what I wanted to do. My dad's been in supply chain for over 30 years. He has a very successful import and export business. And I kind of watched him growing up, and that kind of like led me wanting to be in supply chain. I love how he took the challenges on. I love how he learned new things. I learned how supply chain is not just about buying things or shipping things. It's a end-to-end cycle of every single product and service in this world is a supply chain. And I
Mhm.
just thought that was so interesting and that the world is endless in supply chain and limitless for me. And so I started about 15, 17 years ago in supply chain. And I started in energy as well. And I was always sometimes the only woman in the room. And that was kind of hard. There was not a lot of women supply chain leaders. And I obviously started off as a specialist one, and I had to kind of build my way to the top to be a senior director where I am today. I think I always had this thing about me where no job was too small for me. I didn't
Mhm.
care if my boss said, hey, get the coffee or set up the meeting room, or hey, I'm not going to lie. Back in the 1990s when I had my first job, I was asked to clean the bathroom because there was just not enough staff. And I never took it as, oh my God, I'm lower or lesser than anybody. I just figured these are the things, this is the process and the steps that I need to do. It might be different now. We're in a whole new age where I don't know how much hard work is valued, but I know these kids use their brain more than anything, and I can appreciate that. They like to work smarter, not harder. And I
Mhm.
love that for them because I'm finally have arrived at that place as well now in my career where I am challenged with being a leader in certain things, being a decision maker, looking at the bigger picture. And I also have to work smarter, not harder. I have to delegate. I have to pull things from different places. I have to use my relationships to close certain deals. I have to use my head to make sure I know what compliance is and what that looks like for my team, for our products, for our services, for our investors. It's a very, very big thing. I'll just say that leaders are created through
Mhm.
experience. And I think if I hadn't had all those experiences, I wouldn't know how to think outside the box. You don't just need book smart to be a leader. You need to be street smart. You need to be people smart. You need
Mhm.
to be data smart. You need to encompass and embody all of those things.
Man, that's so good. I love it. You've kind of given us your life story, your arc, but I love how everything that you're doing today, and you're making such a huge difference. And if y'all don't follow her on social media, go follow her, and you're just going to see the influence she has, especially with women in the utility industry and things like that. But it started with your family. There's a lot going on. And you started noticing the room, who's in the room, what dynamics are in the room, what's going on with my family, other families. And it started with the power of noticing. And then after you were noticing the environment, you're like, where do I fit in? What can I bring to this? As you're trying to find or fight for your voice and your spot at the table of what you bring. And that's even before you started your professional life. Think about those lessons that you've learned. No leader wants hardship. No leader wants to go clean the bathroom, the menial tasks and thank you for sharing that of you did what was needed and you've learned lessons along the way that made you resilient, and now you're this resilient leader. How has your path, your journey, and the hardships along the way built that resilience and that hard work and that perseverance in you as a leader?
I think for me, what I have realized is self growth is extremely important. When I see a challenge, I get scared just like everyone else. I get scared to do certain things, but I actually do the opposite. I lean into it. I say, hey, you know what? It's kind of like going on a roller coaster. Once you're on it, you're on it. You can't get off. You have to go all the way to the top and you have to come down. And that's exactly the mindset I prepare for when I'm faced with something. You know, 50% tariff hit overnight. What are we going to do with the project, right? We have to quickly pivot. We have to pull certain projects forward that have a higher probability. We have to use our relationships to maybe move some material in and negotiate for best pricing. Maybe we have to pay a little bit more because we need something and it's time sensitive. Like in my supply chain, well, especially the renewable industry right now as it stands, it is so much uncertainty. It is the tariffs are rising. It's 50%, it's 100%. It is, how are we dealing with foreign entities of concern? It can't be made in China. It can't be made in Russia. Well, how am I going to make this project work if I have to go and pick all these parts and pieces? But I have trained myself to thrive in those situations. And I think it's always been about self growth. I think it involves a lot of emotional intelligence. I think it involves having courage to lead in rooms that are not designed for you, right? But I'm here for it. We've been here before. All the energy industries experience it. We're going to go through our lows and then going to be highs. I think navigating the uncertainty is important. I think wanting to navigate the uncertainty is important, and using like, I love to use my personal skills and merge them with my professional skills. I think it makes me a better professional. I'm like, hey, you know what? I remember I had a fight with a sibling when I was younger, and I remember we went toe to toe. But guess what? We talked about it afterwards and it brought us closer. And so I lean into problems because I think it brings me closer to who I am going to be and it makes me more resilient. And it's like the more challenges I go through, the more of a superhuman being I become. And so
That's
that's what
amazing.
I kind of look forward to.
We have so many listeners all over the world and so many different industries. I just want to pull out all of the nuggets that you have just shared. Number one, you're in supply chain, and I can't even imagine the ups and downs. And you, perfect analogy, the roller coaster of, one day you've got this price, well, next day, boom, tariff hits, and things are constantly changing as the politics are changing, not only in America, but globally. Supply chain is now global. And so can I just say the statement, constantly in an unsecured marketplace, where it's just up, down, going, changing, all these things. And you said multiple times you lean into that. And I want everybody to hear that, because no matter what industry you're in, whether you're in healthcare, education, business, any kind of trade, it doesn't matter. You're going to have some instability in whatever industry you're in. And what are you going to do when those come? They're coming for everybody. And what you were sharing is just solid gold of, I'm using what I know I'm good at. I'm using my emotional intelligence, but I'm also growing myself in every aspect and then leaning in and not running away from. I think so much of a fault, and let me be the first to confess, is I like comfort. I don't like change. I want things to be stable and consistent. And when I experience some constraints or some problems or some conflicts, my first, natural reaction is to run away, run away, run away. And you are sitting here saying you've learned to where you've grown, where your natural reaction is to lean in. And that is so amazing, like how you've built that skill set. So I hope everybody heard that of you build this muscle. Hema didn't come naturally with it. I'm still working on it, but you've built that muscle where now, girl, you're leaning into it and we're here for it. We need that. It's so good. Thank you for sharing that wisdom.
Well, I'd like to make a comment, Bethany. I beg to differ. I think you definitely lean into it because I know you personally. Man, you are so big on family and you're so big on making your family be successful as they can be. You're such a good supporter to your whole family, your husband, your kids. I mean, to your friends, right? You find time to do everything. You went on a limb and started this leadership on the rocks. Look how much has grown. Look how much has bloomed. At a time where you could have also ran away from everything, you ran towards it. And look at you hit the ground running, Bethany. Like, congratulations on all your success, Miss
Oh, I
Independent.
think thank you so much. And it's so funny. I mean, and I love that people are going to now get to see behind the curtain because we are friends. is we can portray one thing to the world, but what's going on in our heads can be something completely different. I can feel oh my gosh, I have so much overwhelm in my head. I can also feel the anxiety or the pressure. But then what you see as my friend on the outside is, calm, cool, collected, doing the things, but that's not necessarily what's going on inside the head.
Oh
So,
yeah, trust me, we all and you know what? This is a great time for me to mention. This is why I'm such a big advocate for women, period, in every industry.
mhm.
But I'm also, known for my advocacy for women in renewables. Of course, that's my passion. And let me just say that is what we do. That's what separates us from our male counterparts is you cannot build a future without women. You cannot build a home without women. We lean into things. We fill in the gaps. We see the challenges every day. In my head, we can't reach net zero emissions without women because that's where the passion lies. We cannot innovate without women. Women are all about collaborating and transforming themselves constantly. We are great at pattern recognition. We know when something is going on. We also recognize when a pattern is off to be able to
Mm.
understand and fix our family and fix our job. And I just think that that's very, very important that for us to understand our strengths as women, we are long-term thinkers. We look at the bigger picture. We have the ability to lead with empathy. We have the ability to lead with strength. Man, we embody so many different qualities. And I think women should tap into that personal life of theirs and bring it to their professional side because they're going to notice how much success they're going to have when they're bringing their real skills to the table.
Oh, I feel like you've just given us as women a permission slip to like, hey, you're awesome. Your brain may feel like it's all over the place, but you have the power of noticing, like you were talking about patterns and connections and being able to read the room and all those things. And it's not that men don't have some of these skill sets too. It's just we're all designed uniquely different. And you just gave me the permission slip to, yeah, show up with all of that thoughts because it adds value. It adds value to the conversation. And I
Yeah.
think some of our biggest battle, and I'll speak for myself as a woman, is I feel like I always have to self talk that I have a reason for being here and I have value to add. Versus it coming natural, I have to do more internal work to get to that point. And I feel like you were just like, no, here's your permission slip, just show up. Build that muscle where it's more natural. So thank you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, and I've learned a lot from you, Bethany, right? Like I get inspired by you all the time, watch your podcast all the time. And I see you building your superhuman strength, taking in all this information, learning about the different industries and helping leaders navigate
Mhm.
through these things by letting them talk about it with you because you have so much insight. Like I love what you do for a living.
Oh, thank you. I just feel like I get to learn all day. It's been amazing. And it has been just such a blessing and a joy to be able to have a platform where I get to learn and then, other people that come alongside also get to learn because that's the goal. Going back to point number one of what you said, self-growth. We're all here to get better. It's all about progress, not perfection. And, so let's dive into something because I want to go back to what I started off with of I have seen you. You're so amazing at how you connect with people. And I swear with like in seconds, you're able to get people talking about themselves. And so they immediately feel comfortable of, I don't know you or I just met you. And yet I feel comfortable enough to sit here and share all of my thoughts. And then you take whatever it is you've learned about them and you build them up even more. It's like you're constantly supercharging people's natural talents and abilities because you get them to share them. How in the world have you grown that skill set? Because I think it's important for all leaders. A leader is someone who is not just about getting people to accomplish tasks. You're building up your team and you are naturally gifted at that. How can we learn that skill set? How did you build that muscle of building others up?
One, thank you so much for recognizing that. And you know what? I will take that compliment. I'm learning how to take compliments. We have a thing in our family now because there's so many girls that she's like, oh, your hair looks amazing. And we're like, no, your hair looks amazing. We're like, no, stop. Take the compliment. So
Mm.
thank you so much, Bethany. I will take that because I will tell you that is definitely a skill that I have that I now can obviously say, yes, I have that. I think
Mhm.
for me, it has never been about places and things. For me, it has always been about people. They're the people I learn from the most. I sometimes feel like my job on this planet is to meet as many as people as I can and take what I can from them so that, like I said, that superhuman, I needed to feed my soul. And I genuinely care for people. I genuinely want the best for them. I don't have any ill intent in my heart. I don't have a hidden agenda. If we're closing a deal together, I genuinely want both sides to get what they want. Am I pushing for a little bit from my side more? Yes, but I'm very good about cost sharing and sharing the ownership and sharing the risks involved in a contract and everything that it takes. I do my commercial strategy just that way. And I'm in the business of doing business with good people. I want to quickly read you so I can know if you're a good person or not, because I am responsible for spending millions and millions of dollars of investor money. And I have to know where to put that money. And I don't just do business with people for products and services. I do business with good people, people that are ethical like me, people that care about labor issues like me, even though they're global. Our supply chain decisions impact their global supply chain.
Mm-hmm.
And I care about people that invest their money in doing all the right things. Are you investing in women? Are you investing in minority businesses? Are you doing everything? Are your people happy at your job? Let me see your safety culture. I think all of that embodies a company when I'm doing business. And I'm just like that with people. Like, I like to lean on the side of people are good. I know everything that's going on in the world has been tragic. It's been giving me and a lot of people anxiety. Um, but if we don't fight for the things we need, we're never going to get ahead. And I think
Mm-hmm.
all of that just involves people. And so if you want to make good decisions and you want to be a leader, you better have a people skill of reading the room. You better have a people skill of being a good listener. You better have the people skill of being able to talk and voice your opinion. But like you said, that building the muscle really just comes from I have a genuine curiosity. I am genuinely interested. When I sit down with people, like I don't just talk business, I talk a lot of personal too. And I genuinely care. I care how many kids are in
Mm-hmm.
your home. I care if you don't have kids and you just have a pet. I care if you love being an aunt. I want to know what you got from that in life. I want to hear your personal experience because it gives me a new perspective. And diversity is exactly what I'm seeking. My brain works not doing the same thing every day. That's why I chose supply chain. I need to meet new people. I need to know what's going on. I need something different every single day of my life. I cannot just do the routine thing because
Mm-hmm.
there's too many people out there with too many experiences for us not to connect and know what's going on in our lives. And I want to share my personal experiences too, good or bad. And you know that, Bethany, from the day
Mm-hmm.
we both shared good and bad experiences. And I think that I love a challenge of creating vulnerability for someone. I love someone that's an introvert, that won't talk, that won't share. To me, it is the big I lean into that completely. I am like, I'm going to go take this person out, or we're going to sit down and we're going to have a one on one. I'm going to get them to talk about themselves because I want them to
Mm-hmm.
feel good, to know you can share and you can be vulnerable. I think
Man.
it's the real greatness of being a human being is vulnerability.
If you're enjoying the Leadership on the Rocks podcast, be sure to subscribe and follow so you don't miss a single episode. And also, please rate the show. We hope to earn 5 stars in serving you in leadership. And through your ratings, it'll help us get the word out about what we do here at Leadership on the Rocks. Now, back to the show. It's so good. And you're just connecting people. It's constant. We talk about personalities, understanding that people are different in the way that it's their pattern of behavior. So personality is really just a pattern of behavior of how I may see something, my paradigm, my lens, my perspective, and then how I engage. So for example, some people might like routine, others may not like routine. And what you're so good at is just tell me about you so I can learn more about how you think and how you show up. And you're making these connections, and I think that's why you're so successful in not just business, but business relationship, business development, and then just genuine friendships. I mean, I knew you for 30 seconds and I'm like, have we been friends a long time? Because it feels that way. Like it was just so magical. And it's not that everybody listening that you have to have that natural ability because we all come with different strengths and skill
Absolutely.
sets. But as a leader, that self development, going back to that, you do have to learn how to build up all your muscles. So here's the visual that popped in my head. Imagine going to a gym and working out. Have you ever seen those guys that have massive muscles on top, but like they constantly skip leg day and they have like little chicken legs? So as a leader, if we lean in so much into our strengths, we can actually overcompensate and we're becoming unbalanced as a leader. And so while yes, you bring people to the table that have different skill sets than you, so your team does it all, as a leader, you still need to grow in all these areas. So whether you're a people person like Hema, or maybe more an introvert like I am, who she brought me out of my shell, we got to grow in all of those skill sets so that you can engage with all kinds because you as a leader are leading all kinds of people. I can't imagine how you engage with the entire world. You're constantly traveling, constantly meeting new people, and you're an amazing leader because of it.
Exactly. I love how you just made that comparison with working out and focusing too much on one thing. And then that muscle is the biggest muscle. And then what about the rest of your body? And I think that's what it is. Relationships and connections are nourishment for the soul and the body. It goes everywhere. And I think, when I sat with you for the first time and I talked and I felt instantly connected, I was like, this is a good person. She just wants good for people. And she wants this podcast and her business to bring good to people because good leaders have to lead people and make more leaders. And I know that's your end goal is to make sure that everyone can have a transition into some type of leadership in their life.
Absolutely. And speaking of, because you and I are both in leadership, growing professionally, and I don't feel an ounce of competition. As we think about anytime we engage, I also work with several other women. What do you think that is that's bringing about that connection where it's collaboration? Because I know sometimes I am going to generalize here, and maybe it's movie stereotypes, but you can, especially with women, you can get into that competition. Like there's only enough room for one woman at the table, and I want to be the one woman, so I'm going to take you down. And how do we get rid of that culture to where we're actually lifting each other up and for collaboration and growth?
Well, I think here's the thing there is space for all of us. And like I said, I come from the energy world where sometimes I was the only woman in the room, only woman in a warehouse, only woman at the OCC, only woman in on site, like trying to estimate and procure these parts and materials and trying to understand what broke. Is it a legacy part? Can I help reverse engineer it with the engineers? Where can I go? Can I source it from Korea? Can I get it from India? I mean, so being that only person sometimes, I was so happy when women started coming in the room. I never once felt like, oh God, there's a woman here now. She's going to take my space. I'm like, I can't wait to talk about all the things in my head, all these emotions, all these feelings. What are these guys doing? What's going on? They have this camaraderie. They're clicky. What about us? I can't wait to meet you in the bathroom, put our makeup on together, talk through the stall sometimes. I can't wait to go to our desk, share memes and share happiness. I got my big shot, and I say big shot is when I got to be on a nuclear all women supply chain team, and I was in heaven. Man, we talked, we shut the doors, we talked so much. But I have to tell you, not only did we get the job done, we always did it before a deadline, and we always found a way to execute and finding all these things that like no one can find. We were able to help other plants successfully nationally. We were able to show up for other plants, not only just ours. We had the best metrics on that plant. And it was no wonder. And I think they really started realizing, like, wow, we got to put more women in the room. And I was just so happy to be there. I mean, even now, I work for a company where we have a woman CEO, Mary Beth. She is amazing. She is a powerhouse. And underneath her are several women, our COO, our CCO, our CLO, all women that I really relate to. And I love just being able to pick up the phone and call them, not just for work, but for personal things too, and for connections. Like, hey, I know someone that's looking for a job, or hey, I know someone that wants a mentor, or hey, and they never say no. They always show up. We attend women conferences together where there's all women. We felt like we were in heaven for 4 days, by the way. We're like, oh my God, we're all safe. We're not in danger. We could do anything here. So I've never been a person that's been threatened by women. I have a very strong mother. I have a very strong aunt. I have lovely cousins and sisters that I adore. I've always seen women as a strength. I have never been jealous. I have never, ever felt like I'm in a race. And you know what? If something is not meant for me and it's been taken away from me and given to someone else, God has a better plan for me. That thing was not meant for me. So please come and take it off my plate so that this new blessing can come in. That's exactly how I feel around women. I love them. I adore them. And I think they're just powerhouses.
Man, you know what you're reminding me of it's a humble confidence that you're stepping into. And it's so funny because everybody's going to hear this at the end, but whenever I asked if you had a Bible verse, Esther first came to your mind, where her cousin Mordecai, Esther, if you don't know the Bible story, has become queen, and her people, the Jews, are going to be persecuted. And her cousin Mordecai is pretty much saying, "Hey, you've come into your royal position for such a time as this." And the plan is, God doesn't make mistakes. You've come into wherever it is you've been planted for such a time as this. And it's calling out the courage, the influence, and everything that you just said. It just exudes a confidence of, I was made for such a time as this, to serve or to walk away from. If that thing is not meant for me, it is okay. It does not define me. It's not who I am. I'm meant for something else. I am here for such a time as this. And I just, for any person listening, whether you're man or woman, it is like, I want that humble confidence of, I am made for such a time as this. I am meant to be here, or I'm meant to walk away from here, like knowing where that is. So can you share, just pull back the curtain a little bit on some maybe setbacks or setups for you in your leadership where you stepped into a situation that maybe was negative or maybe it was positive, where you thought, I was made for such a time as this, and it actually grew your leadership?
Great question, Bethany. I've had many setbacks. That's why I'm in this chair today, because if I didn't, then I wouldn't be able to speak to the experience. I think a big setback that I had here was when I was in junior high school. And I always go back to this story with everybody. I was bullied as a kid, and I was a vegetarian, and so I didn't eat meat. And so the kids were putting meat in my book bag every day. If I would go to the bathroom, they were putting meat in my locker. I would literally
Mm.
open the locker, and there were like pieces of ham, pieces of beef, everything. And I never shared that with my parents because I knew they were experiencing something very similar coming to this country and trying to make a way for us. My mom has two jobs, my dad has two jobs, and I'm like, how could I go home and tell them about this? I mean, it's a big deal to me. It's traumatizing, but I'm just going to make them more stressed out. And so, like, I literally just went up to those kids, when I finally figured out who it was. And I like explained to them, I was like, you ruined my book bag. We just came to this country. We don't have a lot of money. And like now I have to like hand wash my book bag, get all this smell out. You ruined my locker that I spent like 2 hours cleaning out that day just because of the smells and
Mm.
how it got crazy. I was like, you guys make fun of me every Halloween. You dress up with masks that are me, like it's really hurtful. I was like, but you know what? I've learned from you that I'm better than this. And this is just a moment in time. And one day I'm going to grow up and I'm going to have a great life and I'm going to have a family and I'm going to have this and that. And life is going to be beautiful for me. And you're going to look back at this and you're going to regret this. And this is going to be something, this is a story you will never be able to share with your children. This is not something you're going to speak proudly of. And, I had that maturity from my sister. My sister is like, my God, I follow her around like crazy. She is just so smart, so amazing. And she really used to empower me all the time. And she, I told her what's going on. I mean, her first reaction was like, we're going to school, we're kicking ass. That's what we're doing. But she was like, but why don't you go stick up for yourself and go talk about it? And then I'll come in the next day if things don't work out and I'll take care of this for you. And I went and I talked about it with them. And you know what? This is a very weird story. The boy that was bothering me comes forward the next day with a letter saying that I just have a crush on you. And I don't think I knew how to act around girls. And I thought by bothering you and doing these things to you, I was getting your attention. And I'm just so sorry that I did these things to you and that I participated with the other kids. And will you go to the prom with me? Or it was some dance that was coming up.
Yeah.
It was just so confusing to me. I got even more confused by this whole situation. And what I realized is that people, and this is again part of my people learning, is that just because someone does something that may seem rude or can come across harsh, you don't want to judge the book by its cover right there. You might want to
Mhm.
go a little bit deeper because there's probably some insecurities there. It's the first time I learned that people can act the opposite of what they're feeling. And that
Wow.
setback was such an important setback for me because it made me love people more. I'm like, well, here I am thinking these kids are perfect. They're going home. They have a perfect life, perfect mom and dad,
Mm.
knows English, perfect everything. And that's not the case. These kids are struggling at home. They're struggling with themselves. They're insecure about something. I mean, this boy had a crush on me and he reacted in such a harsh way, which is not good, ladies, by the way. Run from that. That's a major
Yeah.
red flag. I've learned that just because a boy is mean, it doesn't mean that even if he says he likes you, that's not what it means. But that's part of the people learning. And I had to do that at such a young age. Yet again, I had to adapt to being in a
Hmm.
big environment and dealing with all these different people. And, they never bothered me again after that. And they were just like really shocked that I was able to come up and have a conversation. I did not go to the dance with that guy. I did not become friends with that guy. But it taught me that people are struggling and people react in not kind ways because they have something else going on. And so I learned to give grace. And that was such a setback for me. I tell you, that year was a terrible year for me. But I wish I had walked up to them and stuck up for myself sooner because then all of this could have
Mhm.
came to light. But once I realized I was really happy with myself and I was just like, hey, Hema, you may not have the exact perfect kid life that you wanted, but you have a good life. You have parents that love you. They work hard to put food on the table. You have siblings that adore you. You adore them. You have this boy that's crushing on you. Your first crush ever is someone even mentioning something like that. Like people are perceiving me in different ways, and I'm okay with that because my perception of them is up to me. And
Mm.
I always want to make sure that I don't judge people.
It's amazing how you just gave a junior high story that I'm sure every single person listening can identify with. I mean, junior high and even high school, those are some rough times, right? Especially in the lunchroom tables, where it's the status wars. And here you are at such a young age being able to understand and build the emotional intelligence of what's really going on here. What does it say about me? What does it say about them? And to not attach labels to it. Just because somebody is picking on me doesn't mean that there's something wrong with me. And just because they had that choice doesn't mean that they're labeled as a bad kid either. What absolute maturity that adults still haven't figured out that lesson. And it's so amazing to see that. And I feel like you took us to therapy. Everybody needs to think through the setbacks you've experienced and learn the lesson from it. That's the lesson I just got from you. Is don't look at a setback and then just tell yourself a story that it's a failure, it's the end, and add labels on other people and on yourself. Sit there and analyze it for a second and learn the lesson from it. What did I learn about me? What did I learn about people? And then move forward in a positive way because you learned from something that was horrible, bullying, you learned grace. You also learned confidence in how to stick up for yourself, but not in a I'm going to go throat punch him kind of way, but in a I'm going to have a conversation and explain using my words, which is another huge thing in junior high. I used to work in a junior high, and a lot of people with hormones just go to
Mhm.
fighting. Girl fights were always the worst. But like, it's amazing that skill set that you've learned. So, everybody listening, I hope you're picking up on all of that of how Hema has been so intentional in learning the lesson, building the muscle, being self reflective, and then applying it to the next situation. I mean, that is how you become a better leader. So, thank you for all of those examples.
It's the understanding people. Just because somebody is not doing their best for a week or they messed up on something, it doesn't mean that's who they are. It doesn't mean that defines them. Time heals all, right? Time and experience heals everything. You just got to keep showing up and you know what? Not everything may be meant for you, and you have to learn how to depart from things. You have to learn how to make room for new things, which is something as women, man, we're constantly doing. We don't have the best support systems out there, Bethany, right? We have to always fight and speak up for our support system. No one's coming to our rescue until we're like, oh my God, I'm at my wit's end now. I need help. Because
Yes,
that's how we
but I,
are.
I love the way that you're doing it, though. The number one thing that I've heard through all that is you're asking lots of questions. You're staying very curious. You're speaking up, but you're doing it in such a way that still builds connections and builds relationships. And so, you've said the word fight, but it's not really a fight. It's a conversation that is just wrapped in maturity and self-reflection and also building up other people, the muscles of other people, of asking those questions of let's have a conversation about some hard things. And it's just an amazing skill set. And it's been such a joy to watch professionally in on LinkedIn and then just in real life because I know you. I think it's just been such a beautiful journey for you.
Yeah, and I would say always ask the questions. Everyone that's listening, ask the questions. Like
Mhm.
at my age and my experience and 15, 20 years of supply chain, I always ask the questions. You think I know everything in energy? You think I know everything that happens, how everything functions? I get in there, ask the questions. I don't care if it's the third time I've asked a question. I don't want to make a decision without having all the information.
Mm.
And I want to be able to know I want to unturn every rock before I make a decision. And that's how I function. Like I'm not afraid to ask the question. I'm going to be asking questions till I die. I bet you my last words is going to be a question. Where am I going? What's happening?
Oh,
That's what I always say. And that's the same thing with people. When you
mhm.
meet people, ask them questions. Don't be so quick to just jump and start talking about yourself. It's great to talk about yourself, but like ask questions. How are they doing? Where are they from? What's
Yeah.
going on? What did they eat for dinner? I ask all the questions. That's how I get to know people's patterns, habits, and who they really are.
You know what I feel like? I feel like as you're sharing all of that, number one, you have the courage. to admit, I don't have to know everything. I can ask questions. But when you ask questions, guess what you're gaining? You're gaining clarity. You're gaining clarity on, like you were talking about earlier, the person's heart, the person's intentions, the person's story, their skill sets, and all of those things. So you have the courage to ask the question, you're gaining the clarity, and it teaches you how to navigate the complex environment in which you're in, whether it's a complex people environment or a complex supply chain or business industry environment. You're learning how to navigate that better. And it's so amazing. So, Hema, as we kind of wrap up, I mean, you've shared so much of just your story. We're so thankful for and the lessons that you've learned. But what would you say are some key takeaways for our listeners that they need to apply in their own leadership? What are those key takeaways?
I would say always stay engaged, always give grace, always be open hearted, and don't be afraid to ask the questions for what you don't know. And definitely get to know people and get to know what you're doing and what you're working on before making major decisions. Rome was not built in a day, and that holds true for everything. But I would say the biggest thing you could do is have a clean heart and good intentions, and people will feel that, you know. And I'm a very big believer in continuing education on anything. I don't care if you like makeup, you like shopping, you like guys, you want to know how to communicate. Whatever your thing is, learn about it. Try to become that subject matter expert in something. It feels good to know, and it gives you more confidence and clarity to know, hey, you know what? I have this knowledge. Even now, my manager and I talk all the time like, hey, you know what? I need to polish this skill. I need to polish that skill. I need to learn a little bit more about this. What are you thinking for yourself? It's about having those open conversations. And the key takeaway is, guys, connections, connections, connections is everything. Don't ever be afraid to help someone. I want to help people more than ever. I have counterparts in supply chain and utility and C&I everywhere that are like, hey, Ma, I need to solve for this. What do I do? Hey, you know what? I got a guy for that. Hey, Ma, I need to do this. And I'm like, hey, you know what? I got a guy for this. This is why I have built my network. It is my treasure that I don't mind sharing with anybody. So I would say,
Mm.
whatever you get, paid forward. Trust
Oh,
me, always paid forward.
it's so good. I feel like I'm walking away with stop doing it alone. Go out, build your network, connect with people, learn about them. And before you know it, you're just going to have this amazing community surrounding you where you don't feel alone. You don't feel like you have to know it all. And as you said, I know a guy. I love
I
it.
know I
Yeah.
call me.
So let me ask you the opposite now. You just gave us a wonderful list, very people focused of how to grow in our leadership, the key takeaways. It was very focused on people. What is one poor decision that you would warn our leaders to avoid? Like, don't do this one thing. Come on, leader, you're better than that. What is one poor decision we should avoid?
I would say the thing not to do is get stuck in your ways. If you're a leader, do not be stuck in your ways. Know the strengths and weaknesses of your people. Know what task makes them happy. Know what tasks they cannot do and they're not good at. If you want to keep a consistent team, you have to know your people. And I would say, don't be afraid to reinvent the wheel, right? There's more than one ways to do something. We're not in the 90s anymore. You know, it's hard for me to make change. I talk to my analysts and engineers all the time, and I'm like, oh my God, how do I do this? Or I don't, I'm a strategic thinker. That's what I do. It's what I'm good at, people and relationships and strategic thinking. Supply chain is my world, but this younger generation, they know a lot more how to use those tools to help you make better decisions. So don't be afraid to lean into that. And don't be afraid to use people from every generation to make you successful. We all need each other. So,
Absolutely. Man, that's generational advice right there. Well, Hema, you've been fabulous. Where can the listeners go to connect with you and just continue to learn from you?
yes, please follow me and connect me on LinkedIn. And if you have any questions, my door is always open. That's my motto. You might have to ping me a few times because sometimes I get like 150 messages because I'm such a people person. But my promise is I will get back to you. I get back to everyone. So please, if you want to connect with me, you want to learn more, you want to talk supply chain,
Mhm.
I do love procurement personally and professionally. So if you just want to talk about shopping, that's amazing. But if you want to talk about real supply chain challenges, that's I'm your girl for that too. But please, my door is open for anything. And if you need something, I got a guy for that. Or I have a
I'm sure she does, y'all. Absolutely. She is a blast to just be connected with in real life, but LinkedIn, she shares some amazing things too. So be sure you follow her, and I'll have the link in the show notes. So, Hema, thank you so much for being here. It's been wonderful.
thank you, Bethany, and keep doing what you're doing. You're empowering people and learning people, and we appreciate you for that.
Oh, thank you so much. All right, guys, until next time, continue putting in the work of building your life and leadership on the rocks, the essential rocks. God bless. Remember, the most essential rock you can build your life and leadership on is the rock of Jesus Christ. Today's Bible verse comes from Esther chapter 4, verse 14b. And who knows but that you have come to your royal position for such a time as this.